Chevy Vortec V8 oil tips, let's check it out. There's the oil dipstick right there with the yellow handle. So this is a Vortec 4.8 V8. All right, so there's another little fix on these engines. There's this tiny little O-ring on the oil pickup tube that goes down inside the oil pan and then goes up into the motor, into the oil pump. And this little O-ring on there will get hard and it won't let it seal up properly. So the tube doesn't seal to the engine properly. And then you'll get horrible oil pressure. So you got to get in there, get that old O-ring off, get a new one popped on there just like this, and then you'll have way better oil pressure. That's not a fun job to do either. You got to drop the oil pan and do all that stuff. So if your oil pressure is dropping, you have one of these trucks with one of these motors, this might be why. Now I want to show y'all something on this dipstick here. It's a lot of confusion. So if we take a look at the dipstick here, you can see these crosshatch marks on there. The oil level is really low right now. So every time I change the oil, I get it to the top of that crosshatch right there, that very top hole. And they say that each one of these equals 1/4 of a quart. I don't know if it's true or not. I've also heard that if you add a quart when it's at the bottom of the crosshatch, it'll bring it back up to the top of the crosshatch. But I know for a fact, every time I change the oil in this, it gets it right to the top of the crosshatch with 6 quarts of oil. You know, I hate reading dipsticks. Some of them are super hard to read on different trucks, you know. So it can be a little tricky to read, but basically, if it's below the crosshatch like that, it's low. If it's at the bottom of the crosshatch, you know, it's almost good. If it's at the middle, you're probably all right. And if it's at the top, it's completely full. I've checked this on a bunch of different trucks. So we need to get in here, change the oil on this thing, you know. There's a couple oil leak points on these engines. I'm gonna show you where they are. Looks like we got an oil leak under here. Not too happy about that. So it looks like the rear main seal is leaking. They always leak on these trucks. I already put a new drain plug gasket in there. That seems to be fine. But I know these things leak from up here. So up in here you have the oil pan gasket, and that thing always leaks on these. You got to replace them. Here's me replacing it on the abandoned Chevy Avalanche project. It's a 5.3 V8, but we got in there, got a new oil pan gasket installed, got the corners sealed up, and that thing hasn't leaked at all. But this one's needing a little bit of repair. You can see we got all this gunk down in here. It's been dripping and leaking from there. Not fun to replace. You know, if you got a 4x4, you got a lot of stuff in the way you got to take off, drop the oil pan, get the cross member, you know, out of the way. Not fun job to do. But for now, we're just going to change the oil. All right, so there's another major oil leak point on these trucks. The intake manifold gaskets on these things leak. You know, they were bad from the factory on the early models, and then they revised them to this one right here. Here's the original style gasket. Here's the upgraded one. I get the metal ones. That way, you know, they're reinforced and they work really well. If you have the old style gasket, it'll just suck oil right into the intake manifold, right to the top of the engine, burn a ton of oil, and it's hidden, so it's hard to find. So they get some condensation in there. You can see some condensation up top in the cap. There's an O-ring right there. You want to make sure it's good. There's another one at the base of the filler neck you can swap out to make sure it's good. Then, of course, you have the valve cover gaskets up here. Those can leak sometimes. Then on these trucks, they have these bolt holes that bolt the valve covers down. They have these rubber seals around them. You can get in there and replace those. You know, if it's leaking, it'll leak from down here. And then there was updated valve covers. The early years, this is an 06, but the early years, you look back there, the PCV valve, it'll suck oil all down into the plastic intake here, and it'll burn a lot of oil. There's an updated valve cover, and it reduces the oil consumption because of the way it's made on the inside. It helps to stop the oil from finding its way back down there and getting sucked into the engine. Let's get in here and change the oil, and then we're gonna see what the dipstick reads once it's full. So the oil I always use in these trucks is 5W30. It says it right there. So I always get Mobil 1 5W30 extended performance. You get a lot of life out of the oil here, but you know, if it leaks like that, you know, you got to change it more often. You know, we're gonna have to get in there and change those seals eventually, but for now, we're just gonna have to refill it with oil. You know, you can get like a year oil change in between oil changes. With the synthetic oil, you know, you get better protection. That's what I like to do. But you know, if you got leaks, you gotta change it more often. So you're kind of wasting money, but you're getting a better oil protection, you know, with the fully synthetic. kind of a waste until you fix the leak, but it's what I always run in there. Hadn't had a problem with it, so you know, we need to fix that leak, but for now we're just gonna fill it back up with this. You know, I use the best oil filters I can. I like Wicks, you know, I like synthetic oil, Mobil One, the best. I put it in there, I don't worry about it. Get this oil out of here. Get out of there. Of course, you always want to get one of these new rubber seals that goes on the drain plug. That way it doesn't leak, you know, once you change the oil. Get this thing installed and tightened up. Get this oil filter off. Get this new filter on here. Wicks, the best. All right, so here's a tip that not many people know. So you get a longer oil filter. On these trucks, there's a short one and there's a long one. The longer one is better because it gets you more filtration capacity, because it has more surface area, because it's longer. And it also gets you a little bit more oil capacity, so you can put a little bit more oil in the engine if you want to do that. I always run the bigger filter, you know, why not? So we're gonna get in here, dump this 5 quarts in there. Then we're gonna get that other little quart. I'm gonna show y'all a trick. All right, so when you pour your oil in here, everybody wants to do it this way, but that's wrong. You're supposed to flip it upside down and pour it this way. It's counterintuitive, but you get a better flow. You get a nice air pocket up top, so it flows in there easy. All right, get this thing started. We're gonna see, I'm gonna show y'all the oil life reset trick. So we're gonna turn it on. Watch the dash up there. Watch this. Press it on the pedal 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Boom, change engine oil. It's gonna reset the life. You can see oil life reset. I'm gonna turn the key off. Down here, there goes my subwoofers. Oil life reset. Crank this thing up, let's check that oil level. There it goes, right up. All right, so we just got done changing the oil. Let's see where it is on the crosshatch. All right, so there we go. Just changed the oil and you can see it's perfect right to the top of the crosshatch right there. A little hard to see on camera, but it is perfect. Fully full, 6 quarts. All right, so here's another Chevy truck behind me. Let's see if it's any different. All right, so let's pull this dipstick out. This is a 5.3 Vortec V8, but we're gonna see what it's looking like. So it's got the same readings on there. Let's get it wiped down and see. You can see the crosshatch is pretty full. This oil needs to be changed, but this is off of that abandoned Chevy Avalanche project, and I have resealed this whole engine, the valve cover gaskets, the oil pan down in there. You know, I've sealed it all up, so we should have a pretty good, consistent oil level. Got this thing cleaned off. Let's see what we're reading at. Oh yeah. There we go. So you can see. So there we go. You know, I'd probably put a 1/4 quart in there, something like that, to try to get to the top of the crosshatch right here, top of the top dot. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's good. It's not going to damage the engine like this. It just needs a little bit more in there to be technically full, but probably put a 1/4 quart in there or something to bring it up to the max level. So, you know, we took care of the leaks. That's good. You know, this thing hasn't been leaking at all after we did that and resealed everything. It's holding a pretty good oil level in there. So we did a good job on that. So that's going back in there. The transmissions on these, reading the dipsticks on these. That's a whole different ball game. We got to sit out here. And I think these have cross hatches on them too. Hot. Oh, ow. Yeah, see, it's got the crosshatch on there too. So that's a whole different video in and of itself, but looks like we're good now. Got the oil level good in that other truck. Got the oil level good in the Chevy Avalanche behind me. Chevy and these crosshatches, man, I'll tell you what. Let me get it out. Okay. Check it out. Oh, no crosshatch. Well, I thought there was a crosshatch on here too, but it's just hot, cold, full, low. So you top that off too, but not that hard to read. Basically, bottom of the crosshatch, put a quart of oil in there, get it to the top. Rule of thumb, you know, if it's a little low, each dot is a 1/4 quart. Let me know y'all's experience down below. You know, is yours a little different? Oh, when you put yours is half quart, you know, it seems like it takes half a quart each dot. I don't know, but seems to work for me. All right, that's it for the video. So that's all the oil tips and tricks and hacks that I know for these Chevy Vortec V8 engines. If y'all know any more, let me know down in the comments below. I'm interested to see. I'll make another video talking about those. But these are all the ones that I know and that I do. So if y'all enjoyed the video and you like these tips, make sure to subscribe down below for more videos in the future. Make sure to smash that like button. Check you out on the next one. Later.